I'm voting tomorrow, so I'm going to vote the way you guys tell me to. So, it's a big responsibility. I'm going to follow, 2 out of 3 wins, and that's how I'm going to vote. So you don't even have to buy me a bottle of whiskey like we used to do in Kentucky.
Well, that too.
Well, that too, sure.
That's a tip for trusting us.
Let me share this. This is a sheet that I put together, and I'll gladly share it with you. I think the one I sent you is a read-only version of it, but I want to show you what I'm doing in this process. I've got the ballot as it appears, the names as they appear on the ballot. And in here, I've listed our names. Okay, Dave, I don't have votes in there for you, but I've got them there for the other 3 of us. So as we go through this, if you tell me if you've made a choice, you can tell me, and I'll put it in there. If you haven't made a choice, that's okay.
That'd probably be the easiest way to do it. Thank you.
Yeah. The thing I want to emphasize is there's no right or wrong here. You vote the way you want to. I'm primarily curious, and what I want to kind of share with other people in this regard is how you go through the process of making the selection. So what I've done is I sent out a request to quite a few people. I've got 4 people here who have been gracious enough to send me their selections. In the judicial races, I have 6 people who've sent those in, including these 2 who are highlighted in yellow. Kathy Ward and Harry Rothker are 2 friends of mine who are attorneys, and I'm waiting for another attorney. Steve David Lambert says he's going to send something in, but I haven't gotten it from him yet. Not that the attorneys should carry more weight in the selection, but I think they are probably more knowledgeable, Harry in particular. Off to the right here, I've indicated these are interest groups, starting with the ACLU, AFL-CIO. I have 29 different groups here. I think it's 29. Yeah. These are left, right, and center. And what I've done is in this category over here, if they made an endorsement, for instance, the AFL-CIO endorsed Angela Bissek for the 4th Supreme Court Justice seat. So I put a 1 next to her in the box for her name. We count them up then. She has a total of 2 endorsements. And in our sample group here, our focus group, she got 8 votes. So I list here, she got, of all the people that completed forms here, she got 100% of the votes. So before I go forward, any questions about how that's done? I hope it's pretty clear. My main attempt here is to get information out. So you've probably seen some of these. I would like to, I put together what I want to see, which is a compendium of here are all the recommendations made by special interest groups. And then I'm asking my friends, all right, what are your selections? And then why did you choose to go the direction you did? Okay, any questions about that? Okay, let me start with some easy ones. We'll go to the executive section for the executive offices. And while property valuation administrator is not a huge elective office, it is an influential one. Colleen Younger is running unopposed. Now, in cases where they're running unopposed, unless you have something to add about them, I'm skipping over them. There's no need to spend time on folks who are unopposed. So the first one is county judge executive, and we all agreed on that. I'm assuming, you notice over here, there's a D next to her name, Democrat. I'm assuming that the fact that she's a Democrat played heavily. Any other, Dave, have you made a selection
Yeah.
in that office?
Chalk me up for Everett.
Okay. Um, any, now from my point of view, I know very little about her.
Been in this role for some time. Did I see that somewhere? Is she the defending champion in this particular job?
Yeah, I think so. And the thing about this office, I don't know a lot about it. The county judge executive is an office in all Kentucky counties. It used to be the chief executive office here in Jefferson County. Mitch McConnell held that office at one time.
That's right.
But since metro government has come in, my impression is the county judge executive has no responsibilities whatsoever.
Michael, I don't know about here in Louisville, but in Lexington, I think I mentioned earlier that I did some research on how they do it down there, and they have the same situation as they do in Louisville with the metro government. And I knew somebody who was running for that office, and what best I could figure out is where there are roads that are not governed by the metro, it's their responsibility to get people to upkeep those roads. And they have some form of budget for that. I don't know if that particular situation even exists here in the county, but that's it is in Lexington. There are some few roads somewhere that aren't part of the metro down there, and so that person is supposed to make sure they get the potholes fixed and what have you.
Well,
And in practical terms, when we want potholes fixed here in the old metro, and Everett would have absolutely no influence on, nor would we go to her, nor has anybody ever mentioned her. That's how out of our ken that position is.
Well, that'd be interesting to find out. Larry, as you were saying, apparently it's state roads. Now we have metro roads, we have state roads, we have federal highways, all here running through the county. We even have in our neighborhood a road that's privately owned. The street that just across from us, Richland Avenue, is not part of any governmental purview at all. I recently found out from someone who lives there. So at any rate, on this office, I don't have any strong feelings. And Larry, as you said, if she's an incumbent, she's Democrat, that's all I used.
Right.
Let's go on down now to Michael Connell running unopposed. And Dave, this is one I wanted to ask you about in particular. You notice I've had two recommendations. This is more or less on a tie. The endorsements came for Tina from the Fairness Campaign and from the LGBTQ Victory Fund. And this is one I want you to talk me into, if you can. Dave and I have talked about this before, and I like Tina Ward Pugh. Bobby Holsclaw is the incumbent, and she's done a pretty good job, I thought. So why should I vote for Tina?
Bobby Holsclaw, as Tina herself has told me, I've worked with her for about 8 years. She was my council member here. She bent over backwards even when we were split, and Steve Magre was really my neighborhood guy, but he wouldn't do much of anything, so Tina kind of took over. I've just built and watched her build her reputation around helping who needs help. Her main focus is to stop the slow, she says, I don't have any absolute chapter verse. Bobby Holsclaw closed this voting area in a poor, largely Democratic area. But that's what she says is her motivation for coming into the office. Mm-hmm. That's all I've got to say. I've run into, not just you, Mike, who challenged that Tina thing, but other people who are strong Democrats who say, well, Bobby Holsclaw, she did something for me and I love her. So I may be a strong Democrat, but I'm voting for Bobby.
Mhm.
Tina Ward Pugh it's an uphill battle whether she'll make it or not. Depends on
Mhm.
who knows. But
Yeah.
that's my reason
Well,
for voting for her.
let's hear from
I know her.
Larry and Steve on this. You both selected Tina. Larry, what was your motivation there? You familiar with her? Or?
Well, I wasn't familiar with Tina. I was really going on Dave's recommendation, which he is now withdrawn. So, I think Bobby Holtzclaw has done a good job as well. I know Bobby is, she's been in there, 25 years or longer, for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And so she's got the thing running pretty well. But, if there's some fresh blood in there that can do something that she hasn't thought of, I think that's fine. There was some talk going around where that they were trying to think that Bobby Holtzclaw was going to do something with voting locations, or she even has control of that. That there was some issue around that I heard somewhere. That didn't weigh heavily for me, but to me it was kind of a toss up beyond that.
Steve?
Sort of influenced by what Dave said, and she's a Democrat, so I went with it.
Okay. Well, I at this point I'm a little I'm kind of on the edge about this one, because I do want to support local Democrats, but on the other hand, I'd like, in a way, Dave, I guess I'd like to claim an impartiality here. That I'm a Democrat. I vote Democratic, but I'm not a yellow dog Democrat by any means. So
Nor am I.
I'm still a little bit on the undecided level there. Right now, I'm with Bobby Holtzclaw, but I've got until tomorrow morning to to change my mind. The coroner. Now, in this one, Steve,
Farmer's my vote.
Steve, you selected this one. Tell me how you went. How do you go about selecting someone for an office like this? If you're like me, you don't know a whole lot about. I mean, you know what a coroner does, but you don't know qualifications. How do you pick? Is this a party line vote, basically?
As well as I can remember, I was looking at the Louisville public media write-up on these candidates, and I think this one, to me, seemed like had a little more medical background than the other candidate. That's as well as I can remember.
Yeah. Larry, did you have anything that caused you to make the decision?
Yeah, I had the same impression as Steve. The joint farmer is a registered nurse, and I thought that being able to recognize when a person is alive or dead is a really important asset to this job. And the other guy was a locksmith who he's listed as a certified concealed carry instructor. Which I felt like maybe some kind of conflict of interest there. I'm not sure how that works, but it just didn't feel right.
Okay.
I echo in general what you guys said. I saw a couple of groups who recommended her. I know nothing about her personally, but I say the same.
Yeah. John Zender is a guy I know. Constable. He's been constable now for, I think, 8 terms. He has no duties. I don't know why we still have that position. But, he's Republican, and I don't vote for him, but I'm not going to do anything against him. Steve, I think I wrote that down correctly, that you had listed there as some reason that you had for selecting. I did get it right, didn't I, Steve?
Yeah, that's what I had on my list here, but I don't remember right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually abstain on things like that where I think the office is unnecessary. Okay, which brings up the big race. We all agreed, apparently, on Dave. Am I assuming that you're a Greenberg supporter?
Yes,
Okay.
but I'm not enthused.
Yeah.
Although And I don't want, it's almost a negative vote. I do not want to see a Republican take over such an important post in this county.
Yeah. You know, the one thing that strikes me about this one is that this is the first serious candidate we've had for Metro mayor who is a suburban mayor. I don't think we've ever had.
You mean Dariff?
Yeah, he's mayor of Jeffersontown.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I believe that we've had a suburban mayor competing for the Metro mayor's seat. And I'm curious this time to see how the that split may emerge.
Absolutely, Michael. I think you're right on, and it's going to be a harbinger of how the vote is moving, if it's moving. Because I think Duriff could win this thing. I think it's entirely possible. I think it's maybe a little less likely.
Larry, any
well, I think
you want to share on that?
I don't know a lot about either of these candidates, but I did read the agenda for of Greenberg, and it's quite extensive and quite expansive. And all the things that he says that he's going to do, I thought were very worthwhile doing. I don't know how he's going to fund it and how he's going to really focus on it, because it's a long laundry list of things that I think the community needs, but whether the community can afford it or whether he can gather enough support to actually do it is another question. I think that I knew I had contact with Greg Fisher when I was in business, working in the company I was working with, and I was always been tremendously impressed by him. He was, just a dynamic person who really had his head on straight. I thought that his last administration here has been rather lackluster, and so if Greenberg's going to continue on with that, then I think we're into more lacklusterness. And I really don't know enough about Diriff to make a choice. I was kind of a soft Greenberg on that, and I don't know how I'm going to find out more. My wife mentioned that she thinks he's pro-life, so that we know where that's. I think that's probably the tiebreaker that pushes me over to Greenberg at this point.
Right.
I'm not terribly enthused.
Steve, any feelings about that race? Now, you and I are both, I guess we still would be called suburban voters. Have you, in speaking to folks, do you sense a division between urban and suburban on this race? I may be trying to point out something that's not relevant to a lot of people. About what you're feeling?
No, I didn't see that dynamic. I think I'm just a soft Greenberg supporter. Since he's never had public office before, it's kind of hard to judge how effective he'll be, but I'm willing to give him a shot.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that Diriff is going to win this election. I think it's what I've heard three of you say. I think soft support. I don't know that that's going to make it. I do expect a heavy turnout in suburban areas. I think particularly on the national side on the abortion issue is going to bring out a lot of people for this. Okay, well that's good. I want to get to the judicial races. I'm going to skip over the legislative part of this for right now. I'd like to look at the judicial races and just kind of show you what the breakdown is here. There are few organizations. The numbers I see pointing out to up here are the organizations who have made their endorsement selections, and there really aren't that many. The Louisville, this is Louisville Showing Up for Racial Justice, SURJ, who does quite a bit of ratings, and the Citizens for Better Judges. They have endorsements on many of them. The first one is just one Supreme Court nominee this year, or one position open in the Supreme Court, and Angela Bissett seems to get universal support. We all agreed on that. Dave, did you?
Please add me. Yes.
Yeah. I've not heard anything negative about her. She's gotten very high marks from every source I've seen. So unless somebody has comment on that, we'll move on to the next race. In these races, Larry, let me start with you on this. You're looking at something like this. How do you begin the process of selecting someone in a judicial race? It's a nonpartisan, or at least supposed to be nonpartisan race. What process goes on in your mind about?
Well, first of all, I look at experience. Have they had relevant experience that I think is credible, that gives them one person or the other person an edge, and that's about all you can tell. There's not a whole lot more. You can look at other people's endorsements of them, and you can go from there. I've flipped back and forth between Lister and Eckerly, and just pretty much on that issue there. I look at the endorsements. I'm looking at it right now that on the LPM site, that a lot of the endorsements for Lister have been, pretty much from the people that I would want, whose voice I would want to be heard. So that's an issue there. My wife has looked at that as well, and she feels like Lister is the better choice to put a more liberal voice on the Court of Appeals. I initially had Eckerly in there because of that experience, even though there was some complaint that the LPM focused that I thought was kind of a nothing burger. That even though they focused on it, so I'm kind of fluid on this particular one as well. I think Eckerly has a lot of good experience that relates to this, and maybe more so than Lister. On the other hand, I think Lister is more philosophically attuned to me.
Yeah.
So,
Steve, let me pose the same question to you. When you're looking at a listing like that, tell me the process you go through to make a decision.
I think it's much like what Larry said. You're looking at what you know about their background, what experience are they going to bring to the job, and then what endorsements have they picked up. Since I don't know any of these people, we don't get to see them in debates.
Right.
People are more active in the judicial system or making a recommendation by endorsing them. I think that carries some weight.
Dave, have you made a selection in this?
Yeah.
This race?
She was a Brown School student much of the years. Sue, she's one of Sue, my wife Sue's students.
This is Lister you're talking about.
Lister, yes. And she's, hugely supportive. I mean, I know Sue has sent money to her campaign. She is an attorney who was talked into this by a wide circle of fellow attorneys, friends. I don't know where these people are, where they've come from necessarily, but they so respect her philosophy, her balance, her smarts, her heart, her humanity. She's told Sue directly, she said, I never would have done this without almost being pushed into it. So she's never been a judge, but an attorney. And there's just a ton of people who just believe in her.
Yeah, Michael, I'm looking at the number of additional judges we've got to look at in just a few minutes left in our little session this evening. I have one that I would like some input on, because I'm on the fence on it.
Yeah.
Could we skip down to that one? And
yeah, I'm glad to stay. I didn't plan to go through each one individually, but go ahead. Which race are you talking about?
It is 30th Judicial Circuit to the 10th Division, Christian Garrison versus Sarah Nicholson.
Yeah. The two lawyers that solicited from. Both recommended Nicholson. Everyone else has selected Garrison. What's your feelings about this?
Well, I think I'm wondering how much weight to place on what those two lawyers had to say. Well, how did you make your choice before you heard from those two guys?
I did. And I think it was in reading their bio that I made this. I did this first kind of blind, and then I went through the process.
Well,
There was only one.
I got to Garrison by looking at the bios, right? There wasn't any input on the Citizens for Better Judges or whatever, but then
Right.
your attorneys weighed in, and I thought, am I missing something here?
That's always a tough decision. You know, when it's kind of comforting when you make a choice and everybody agrees with it. When when you make one and they don't, it's a little harder. So in this case, Dave, have you made a choice in that race?
No, I know nothing about these people. I see signs, and I know Nicholson is popular. And I wonder if, David Nicholson, longtime downtown, exec, this and that. David Nicholson lost the mayoral race, and I went to one of his rallies just to listen to him. And he just sounded to me like a good old boy. I wonder if Sarah might be his daughter or something like that. Beyond that, why did you three vote for Garrison? Was it, you said the bios impressed you?
I don't remember specifically about it, but there was something, as I recall, there was something negative on the Nicholson side, but it's kind of a toss up for me. I saw that one. I have a friend who is active in this organization and the racial justice organization, and they were pretty strong about Garrison. So,
well, that will convince me, I think.
I didn't see any reason not to, but it's one of those things where I wish that the candidates, they do advertising and they do debates, but oftentimes these things aren't accessible at the time you're making a decision. I would love to have a short synopsis of this person. I'd love to have them in this kind of environment in a Zoom meeting, and let me hear them talk, and let them, not a real debate, but just a discussion of why they want the office. That would help me make the decision. In this case, I don't know. It's kind of a toss up. I could have gone either way.
I think that when I looked at this particular race, a couple things stuck out. One is that she's an incumbent, and she didn't draw endorsements.
Interesting, Larry.
So you think she's had X years on the bench. You think that she's either not done so well, or maybe I don't know what else. What else can you say if a person's been up that long and they're running against another person who also doesn't have experience there? I have a personal prejudice that I would admit to. When I was in the probation business back in the 70s, her grandfather was on the bench in circuit court, and he was just a son of a bitch. He ran a dictatorial court, and there was no politeness, no softness to that at all. It was a tough place, and I don't know how much that she shouldn't be indicted for that, but I have a prejudice. But it's mostly the fact that she wasn't endorsed.
Yeah.
Well, what I find interesting here is that we've spent some time thinking about these, and it's difficult to make a choice. Most people going into the voting booth haven't taken any time to look at any information about these offices. So I'm wondering how often the first name on the ballot gets elected, because it's the first one you get to. So
By the way, what I just heard now from you guys is, I think you've convinced me that Christian Garrison, he'll be my vote too.
Okay, well, we've done a lot on the judges. We're nearly running close to time here. I do want to talk about the legislative positions. I want to move down here. Most of these races, I think we were pretty much in agreement on. Metro Council, I was interested in, and honestly, I think Larry, are you in District 4?
Leafs, I think, well, no, because I don't have any, there's no
You don't-
race in District 4.
There's no one on the ballot for your district.
Right, so I must be,
Yeah.
because it's not on my ballot.
Steve, I think you are in District 7, is that right?
I was in my current house, but I'm voting in a new address.
Oh,
And
okay.
I don't have any Metro Council on my ballot.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They gerrymandered you,
so-
Steve.
No, I've changed my voter registration to the new address.
Oh, I
Yeah.
see.
So you're
Okay.
in that area, you're not, that is not on the ballot this year.
Right.
I am in District 9 and I'm pretty solidly behind Andrew Owen, although Alexandra Martindale and I had a conversation this afternoon on my front porch, and she's a charming lady. I don't think she has a chance of winning.
She doesn't, but she is good people.
Yeah, she
She's
seems
open, she's generous, she's been out walking, knocking on doors.
yeah.
I
yeah.
just tribute her with that. Andrew Owen, I know, as I did his father, you know, it's going to be a sweep for him. And
Yeah.
I can't vote for him. I don't have, that's not my district.
Well, it's a shame. I'd like to work on recruiting some people to change teams. I think that would be a nice way to approach it. And let's see, I had 17. None of us are in 17, I don't think.
Wow.
Okay, the school board.
Winkler, I'm surprised to hear Winkler so down. He's the incumbent. One vote, and then
Well, we're not voting. He's not in our
area.
He's not.
But
The fact that he doesn't have votes here only reflects the fact that there's nobody in his district that I have listed. The school board, and I don't know your districts here.
That's
Dave,
mine. That's mine. You're on right now.
And who's your choice there?
Well, Diane Porter was a counselor for a long time at the Brown School, but she was not well respected, and she's been a long time. I think she's done really pretty well. She's an African American woman, and you know, but she has nothing new to offer. And in comparing her flyer, there's Diane Porter, re-elect. Woo, woo, woo. Nothing, not a word about what she believes in. And I happen to run into Charlie Bell, her opponent, who was handing out, knocking on doors and so on. Bell says, and this is why I'm voting for her, is she's got what she's fighting for, what her history is, and she's
I'm
sorry,
Charlie Bell is female?
Yes, she is.
Okay, I didn't.
I can show you a picture.
Well, no, I believe you. I just didn't know that.
Yeah, well, school safety, quality education of, well, that doesn't say much. Parent voice. She's got a platform that I think is really fine, and she's got some out-of-state experience from Ohio, Akron, and then here, has lived here quite a while. So she changed my vote right on the way. So just one.
Steve and Larry, do you have a school board member?
No.
I didn't think you did because I went through there and didn't see it.
Do not.
This is St. Matthews, which none of you have. But
Wow.
I wanted to share something with you. I had shown you once before this sheet with the A team listed.
Yeah.
The mayor had picked an A team. I got a card today from these guys. This is a guy named Lee Look, who is a neighbor of mine. I did a campaign video for him, and I didn't realize they were doing this, but they put together elect your A+ team. And so these are all progressive folks who are on the St. Matthews ballot. I'm sorry you can't vote for them, but I'm gonna give them my vote. And then finally, the final thing I want to look at is two amendments that
Yep.
are up for
Yep.
vote. Dave,
Very
how
good.
are you voting on, the venue of Amendment 1 is changing the Constitution to allow the legislature to call special sessions rather than the governor calling special sessions.
If Constitutional Amendment 1 passes, state lawmakers would be able to call themselves into a special session for up to 12 days. If they had that power in 2020, they could have used it to undo Bashir's COVID policies.
What's your vote on?
I'm voting no.
You're
And I'm
voting
voting
no.
no because it's a Democrat-Republican thing.
No.
It's the last holdout. Although we may well have a Republican governor the next time around, so maybe it
Bite your
won't.
tongue. Steve, I was curious, and I'm not questioning your vote. I'm just looking for your reasoning there.
I probably didn't understand it. It just seemed like a, what should I say, administrative thing to me.
Well, I'm not trying to persuade you, but if you haven't taken time to look at the arguments on it, there's a couple of sites there that will explain what the ramifications of them are.
I did not do that. I just looked at the wording of the amendment.
Okay.
So if I missed the boat on that, I'm happy to be educated. I don't understand what is the power that the governor has by calling or not calling a special session.
During the pandemic, when Andy Bashir was declaring mask mandates and doing close downs and so forth, there were many in the legislature who wanted a special session so they could nix his decisions there. And that's the process. Now, Dave, I agree with you. To me, this is sort of like the filibuster rule in the U.S. Senate.
Yeah.
Depending on who's in power, it's either a good thing or a bad thing. If you're not in power, the filibuster rule is a good thing because you can stop some measures. But if you are, it's not such a good thing. So I don't. Whenever an amendment like this is proposed and it's highly politicized, basically I'm against it because I don't trust the changes. I don't know what the unintended consequences may be.
Yeah.